41 million Americans could lose food benefits next week. A federal judge is now deciding whether families will eat or go hungry this November. Before we dive in, please subscribe, where you'll always get verified real-time updates on SNAP, SSI, and SSDI programs. The tension in Washington is reaching a breaking point. The U.S. Department of Agriculture just told a federal court it should not be forced to fund SNAP for November, even though more than 41 million Americans rely on it to eat. And right now, 24 states plus Washington, D.C. are suing to keep the program alive. This case could decide whether millions of seniors, families, and low-income workers get their next meal or face an empty EBT card. Let's break down exactly what's happening and why it matters to you. It all began when the government shutdown dragged on past its first week. On October 10th, the USDA warned every state agency that SNAP wouldn't have enough money for November benefits unless Congress took action. 2 weeks later, on October 24th, they made it official. SNAP payments for November were suspended until further notice. That announcement shocked state agencies, social workers, and families nationwide. It set off what could become the first ever nationwide suspension of food assistance in U.S. history. Now that we understand how this crisis began, let's look at why the USDA says its hands are tied, and why that argument has infuriated so many states. The USDA argues that it can't legally issue SNAP funds without approval from Congress. They cite the Anti-Deficiency Act, a federal law that prevents any agency from spending money it doesn't have. Or, in simple terms, it's like writing a check when your bank account is empty, even if the check is for groceries. Agency lawyers told the court that spending emergency reserves would break the law and could even bring penalties to federal officials. They also claim those emergency funds, around $25 billion, are meant for disasters like hurricanes or wildfires, not for covering a full month of benefits that cost roughly $9 billion. Visual chart. SNAP cost 9B versus Emergency Fund 525B. If they used all those dollars now, it would still fall short by nearly $4 billion and leave nothing for real emergencies later. That, USDA says, is why they're choosing what they call the least damaging option. But 24 states, led by Massachusetts, say the USDA's stance is illegal. They argue that SNAP is mandatory spending, not optional, meaning the law requires it to continue even during a shutdown. Their lawyers point out that in 2019, the USDA found a way to keep SNAP running despite a similar funding lapse. So why not now? The states are asking the court for an emergency order to force the USDA to release the money, saying the department does have enough between reserves and tariff revenues to cover at least temporary payments. To understand the stakes, look at Maria from Ohio, a single grandmother raising 2 grandkids on $190 a month in SNAP benefits. She says if her card goes empty on November 1st, she'll skip meals so her grandkids can eat. Multiply her story by 41 million, and you see the human cost behind this courtroom battle. Millions of children, seniors, and disabled Americans could wake up to find their EBT cards blank. That's not just a statistic, it's a national emergency. The court now faces 3 options: grant emergency relief, forcing the USDA to release emergency funds immediately, allowing states to reload EBT cards, deny the motion, meaning no benefits until Congress passes a funding bill. Partial relief, allowing limited aid to seniors or families with young children. Legal experts say a ruling could come any day now, and every hour counts. Even if the judge rules in favor of the states, some families may still wait until mid-November to see deposits reappear. the USDA says their hands are tied because they can't spend unapproved funds. The states say the money has already been approved through ongoing mandatory programs. It's a tug of war between two legal interpretations. The USDA's view, no new money, no payments. The state's view, existing law guarantees benefits must continue. And until the court decides, both sides are stuck in a legal stalemate, while millions wait. Before we wrap up, let's clear up some of the biggest rumors spreading online, because misinformation can hurt people who depend on these benefits. Myth number 1. The USDA can just use its emergency funds whenever it wants. Fact. It can't. Spending those funds without authorization could violate the Anti-Deficiency Act and lead to penalties for officials. Myth number 2. Everyone will get back pay automatically once SNAP resumes. Fact. Not necessarily. Only households already approved and pending payment are guaranteed back pay. New applicants or those needing recertification may face delays. Myth number 3. States can front the money and get reimbursed later. Fact. The USDA has said no. Any state that issues benefits during the shutdown does so at its own financial risk. Key takeaway: only rely on official state updates and check your EBT account regularly. If the states win, SNAP could restart within days, but it may only be temporary until Congress acts. If the USDA wins, it would set a major precedent that even mandatory benefit programs like SNAP can pause during future shutdowns. Either way, the decision will reshape how America handles social safety nets when politics bring the government to a halt. This fight isn't just about budgets or politics, it's about putting food on the table for 41 million Americans who rely on SNAP and WIC every single month. Families, seniors, children, and people with disabilities are counting on these programs, and any delay or shortfall could mean real hardship, skipped meals, empty shelves, and impossible choices between groceries and medicine. The court's ruling on funding could come at any moment, and we'll be here to break it down the second it's announced, so you know exactly what it means for your state and your community. Every decision made in Washington has a real-life impact on families across the country, and the clock is ticking. So here's what you can do right now. Like this video, subscribe, and comment your state below. Doing so doesn't just help our channel. It helps thousands of other Americans track what's happening in real time, so communities can stay informed and prepared. When Washington stays silent, staying alert and connected becomes your strongest defense. Share updates with neighbors, check on loved ones, and make sure everyone knows how to access resources if benefits are delayed. Because these programs aren't just numbers in a budget, they're lifelines for millions.